Hello and welcome to today's episode of Over 50 and Flourishing. We are in the beginning of October. October, as you know, Breast Cancer Awareness Month. I wanted to kick off this month with this particular episode. You're about ready to meet a woman whose story I think is going to blow your mind. It is an incredible story of getting diagnosed with stage 4 breast cancer on Valentine's Day of 2024 and then being completely healed. Yes, no detection of breast cancer in her body after 4 months of treatment. Are you scratching your head? Are you wondering, how is that possible? How is it that a year and a half later, she's sitting here in my studio, able to tell this story? What did she do? What happened? Who is she? Well, I'm going to let you in on the secret. She is the author of this book, Touch Your Tatas, and we're going to encourage you to do that. Ladies, I want you to meet Kristina Keller. Kristina, thank you for being here. Thank you for driving in from the Woodlands, Texas. Just to let everybody know, it's what, about a 3-hour drive and some change
Yes.
to come up to the Dallas area. But I'm so glad you're here. I read your book last night, by the way, and I was telling Vic after I read it that I felt like I had a mix of somebody's incredible cancer journey as well as a daily devotional
Oh,
that was happening all at the same time, and listening to my best friend, because you have this way of writing that is just that. It's just like you're a girly's girl. You're, the friend that everybody wants to have in a tough situation. And I was just I was so touched by Touch Your Tatas. That's all I have to say. And I'm grateful that you're here because your journey and your message, I know, is going to change a lot of lives. Um, I mentioned in the introduction, you were diagnosed on Valentine's Day of all days. And I was racking my brain last night and I'm thinking, oh my gosh, Valentine's Day diagnosis 2024. Here we are recording this in August of 25. Girl, your whole journey has happened in a year and a half.
right.
Bring us back to that day.
Well, it certainly wasn't the Valentine's Day that I was looking forward to, but
Right.
I just got a call from my OB-GYN and they got the biopsy results and said it's cancer. And my immediate thought was, it's got to be early because I get my mammogram and usually an ultrasound every year. I'm on top of that because I had family history of breast cancer, and so I just have always been on top of it.
Mhm.
But so I just thought, oh, it's early. I can beat this. It's like 99% chance of early detection that you can beat this. And I really just my first thought was, do I share this with people or not?
Mm.
I felt the Lord giving me peace. I felt like He said, "Yes, share your story." Um, I know that He usually uses me in the valleys, and I just had to be faithful that He was going to use me through this journey and help other people. And we started kind of going down the path of a double mastectomy and doing other tests. And a couple weeks later, they realized it had already spread to my liver. It was stage 4. So that's when it really got real.
This is probably shocking to a lot of women to hear. And how old? You're
4,
54. So this happened when you were 53
right?
and you're doing your annuals, right?
Mhm,
Your mother, I read, had breast cancer a year before
right.
you were diagnosed. So you've already been through that journey. You said in your book that, and I can relate to this, dense breast tissue, lumps, bumps, things that grow, things that have gotten removed in the past. So you've been pretty diligent about your testing. What do you think happened in such a short period of time? And tell everybody what you were diagnosed with. And it wasn't just an issue in one breast. Your right breast was the one that had the cancerous tissue, but there was stuff going on in your left breast too.
Right. So I think, basically, I felt a lump 2 years before that, and it was by accident. I wasn't doing monthly self-exams. I just kind of felt it with my arm,
Mm.
and I went in, and they said, "Oh, it's fine." And I just never thought about it again. And then the next year, I had another mammogram and ultrasound, and nobody said anything about it. And then again, I accidentally kind of happened upon it.
Mhm.
Um, and this time they said, "Oh, let's biopsy that." And I equate it to the type of cancer that I had in my right breast was kind of the it's not as common. It's evasive lobular
Mm.
carcinoma, and that means it kind of spreads like lace, and it's not like a solid mass. So, had it been a different kind of cancer, it would have been a mass, and that would have been
Mhm.
something that would have been seen on the images, but this kind of cancer is really hard to detect it on that kind of imaging. So, I had it for a long time.
Mm.
I just it it didn't appear to be anything through those particular images, because and it kind of just grabbed a hold of itself to make a knot, but it wasn't a solid mass, and that's
Right.
why I felt a lump, but
And you said in the imaging, it almost looked like lines, right? And the doctor said it had a lace-like effect where
right,
these lines had sort of grown together and connected, and that's what you were beginning to feel. But prior to that, it was undetectable. I'd
right,
never heard of the type of cancer that you just mentioned. So now all of a sudden, you get the diagnosis, and of course, you're running through different treatment options and protocols, um, and and then you found out it spread to the liver. You know, you were about ready to pick up your son in carpool that day when you got that little piece of information that,
right.
oh, by the way, um, what's going through your mind and how are you trying to figure out what on earth am I going to do here?
Well, when I heard stage 4, I mean, my first thought is, "Oh my gosh, like, maybe I'm not gonna make it through this." I mean, I think that when you hear stage 4, even if you don't know that much about cancer, you know that's bad,
Hmm.
and, um, I thought, "There's a shot that I'm not gonna make it through this." But I really felt like the Lord was saying, like, "No matter what happens, I've got you, and you are gonna help people no matter what this journey looks like." And I just kept course with telling people about what I was going through. I really started researching,
Hmm.
other opportunities for treatment, and just used the power of prayer to guide my every decision because I had to decide my team of doctors, my treatment plan, and I felt like the I had thousands of people praying for me, and I just, I don't know, ultimately what cured me, if it was all the prayer alone, of the medicine, but I feel like God just used prayer to help guide me through the whole entire process to give me discernment to make hard decisions.
Well, the Holy Spirit speaks through you for certain, because when I was reading your book, and what I love is that at the end of every thought, idea, concept, decision, you found the appropriate scripture to tie it all in. And your connection to our Heavenly Father is so strong. And I personally am convinced that that played a huge role in your healing. But there's more to this story, and there is an interesting twist, and we're going to get to that a little bit later. I just want for you to kind of tell the story about, you had just been helping your mother who had breast cancer literally a year before.
Right.
And now this is your journey. You're a single mom of a boy. How old is your son now?
He's 14 now.
Okay, so 13, middle school. Oh, the joys.
Yes.
What I loved reading in your book was you had a bunch of cheerleaders. So first of all, he was always your cheerleader. He was always saying, "Mom, you're going to be fine. You're going to
Yes.
be fine." Kids have an amazing way of rallying and
Yes.
knowing and being so positive. So you were getting that beautiful inspiration and affirmation from your child. Then you found your team of doctors in the Texas Medical Center, and I love how you likened them to kind of Wonder Woman.
Right.
So explain choosing your team and just how important that is.
Well, I was given a lot of referrals. And so as I interviewed them, I wasn't trying to select an all-woman team of doctors, but that's what I ended up doing.
Hmm.
And I called them like my Wonder Woman, medical team, because I just felt like we were all just like, gonna kind of kick cancer's butt sort of
Yeah. With
mentality.
the cuffs and all.
Yes, that ching ching. Um, but I just felt like the Lord was leading me to these particular women, some of which I know for certain are believers, but I didn't know it at the time.
Mm.
And I just felt very secure in that decision. And it's really important to trust your doctors and to feel like you have, I guess, like you're a team together. Because what I didn't want to do is pick a doctor that didn't listen to what my concerns were,
Mhm.
and just said, this is what you have to do. And if you don't do that, then you need to find another doctor. I wanted somebody who would allow us to come up with a plan together. And I know there's a lot of people out there that get cancer and they either solely listen to what their doctors say, and that's what they say is the end all be all.
Mm.
And then I know people who say, I'm not going to tell my doctor what I'm doing because they'll tell me not to, or they'll drop me, and I'm scared of that. So having a team of people that you really trust with your life is really, really very important. And if you don't have that, then you need to find it first.
Mhm. And you also talk about that in conjunction with this team that was rallying around you, friends, support, people who maybe were going through what you were going through or heard about, or the bombardment of information,
Right.
right? You had a term for it. Talk about how you were handling that, because I know that it was overwhelming to a point. And as you mentioned, you were like an ostrich in the sand. There
Yes.
was there was kind of this cutoff of, I can't take it anymore. So we're going to take a quick break and thank our sponsors. And I'm going to thank you again for being here, because this story is it's a beautiful one. And I want you to touch on keep touching your tatas, Missy. And I want you to touch on the information overload that can happen when you get the cancer diagnosis. And we'll be back right after this. You all know I've been on a protein journey lately, really trying to make sure I'm getting enough every day. And I have to tell you, I finally found the best protein powder out there, Clean Simple Eats. Here's why I love it. Nothing artificial, third-party tested, non-GMO, sugar-free, and zero added sugar. Great, right? But each serving gives you 20 grams of grass-fed whey protein isolate. And the taste, y'all, it rocks my world. Smooth, creamy, and blends beautiful into my morning smoothie. Sometimes I'll even throw it into my oatmeal to add protein to a carb-intense meal. And what makes it even better is the variety. Clean Simple Eats has so many flavors to choose from. I love the vanilla because it's the most versatile, but if you're like me and you want to try them all, they have a variety pack with single servings of all the different flavors. Now, I cannot not mention their clear protein powder as well, because it's all the rage, and with good reason. The pink burst flavor, it's incredible. It literally tastes like a melted pink starburst. You just mix it with water and you have this light, refreshing drink that still packs in 20 grams of protein. No wonder why they can't keep it in stock. I love Clean Simple Eats. It's a daily ritual that I look forward to, and I know I'm fueling my body with something clean, effective, and delicious. So visit cleansimpleeats.com. Use code Flourishing20 at checkout for 20% off your first order. That's cleansimpleeats.com, code Flourishing20 for 20% off your first order. You know, I'm somebody who tries to live intentionally, especially when it comes to what I put in my body. But I'll be honest, remembering to take a bunch of different supplements every day is not my strong suit. And that's why I love Groons. Groons aren't your typical gummy or multivitamin. They're a convenient, comprehensive formula packed into one little snack pack a day. Think of it as your multivitamin, your greens, your probiotic, all rolled into one. And the best part, it tastes great. Here's what sets them apart. Generic multivitamins usually cover only 7 to 9 vitamins. Groons has more than 20 vitamins and minerals, plus 60 nutrient-dense ingredients. That includes whole foods, superfoods, and 6 grams of prebiotic fiber. That's 3 times more than the leading greens powders. Can you believe it's like eating more than 2 cups of broccoli? That's huge. They're vegan, nut-free, gluten-free, dairy-free, no artificial colors or flavors. You can even choose low sugar or sugar-free, and they are backed by science. And because they are in gummy form, they're more bioavailable, meaning your body can absorb these nutrients better. For me, Groons has become a part of my wellness routine, even my husband's. I give him a pack too. We love the taste, the convenience, and knowing that we're covering so many bases with just one little daily pack. It's helped us feel more energized and supported without the guesswork. Visit Groons.co and use code Flourishing at checkout for up to 52% off your first order. That's GRUNS.co and use code Flourishing for up to 52% off your first order. Welcome back to Over 50 and Flourishing. My guest today, boy, is she flourishing. Kristina Keller joins us from the Woodlands, Texas, a breast cancer survivor, stage 4 cancer, diagnosed Valentine's Day of all day of 2024. And you are here sharing your powerful story during Breast Cancer Awareness Month. And I'm grateful, so grateful to have you here. I am grateful for your book, Touch Your Tatas. You jokingly said, in the book, I didn't touch my tatas. I just wasn't that person. I felt weird about it. I didn't think to do it. It wasn't
Right.
until your arm hit your armpit and then you felt something. But now you're a real big advocate for self breast exam. Clearly, we were talking about before the commercial break, just the inundation of information that, I mean, everybody wants to help you,
Right.
right? So, how were you handling all of that in conjunction with what your doctors were saying and all these big decisions that you had to make?
Well, when I first found out I had cancer, not that it was stage 4, people just started inundating me with books, articles, links to websites. It was so overwhelming that I honestly like buried my head in the sand because it was too much to go through. I didn't know where to start. It just was overwhelming and I knew I couldn't read it all. I knew I couldn't do it all. And then when I found out it was stage 4, I thought, I probably should look into
Mhm.
some of this stuff that people have been sending me. And the reason that I honed in on one particular thing is because 3 different people had sent it to me. They don't know each other from different
Mm,
parts of my life. And I just felt like God was sort of saying,
pay attention here.
pay attention here.
Yeah. What was it that you needed to pay attention to?
Well, there was a gentleman named Joe Tippins, and he was basically sent home to die, had done all of the traditional oncology treatments, and he they just said there's nothing more we can do.
He was a young man, right, with lung cancer that
He
had
had
metastasized to multiple organs throughout the body.
right. And so he had a friend that was a vet and told him a story about a Merck scientist who was looking into cancer treatments and was doing treatments on mice to test out different things. And he said, I've read a lot about this fenbendazole, which is basically supposed to, it's an anti-parasitic
Mhm.
drug.
It's been
So
around since the '70s, right?
yes, it's very similar to ivermectin, which
Mhm.
a lot of people found out about during COVID. Both are very showing promise in the cancer treatment, and they kind of attack a little bit differently, but similarly. So a lot of people do both. I tried to do ivermectin at first. When I went and talked to my oncologist about it, she said, "You're the third person today that has asked me about ivermectin
Hmm.
because there's more and more research out there
Right.
now." But I found it very difficult to find a doctor that would prescribe ivermectin at the levels that I needed to fight cancer. And there's another membendazole, which is like fenbendazole. It's for humans,
Mhm.
but you can't find a doctor that will prescribe that either. And if you do, like I did, I found one and it was going to be $15,000.
Yeah, through a compounding pharmacy, you said.
The average person can't afford
Yeah.
to do that.
Well, and let's also note that these drugs have been used in animals forever,
Right.
right? For worming purposes,
Right.
pinworm, ringworm,
Well, and humans.
Yep,
Ivermectin is FDA approved for humans. Mebendazole is FDA approved for
sure.
humans, but it's not been labeled as a cancer drug, and it's off patent. There's no money in it,
Mhm.
and
Well, I think you hit the nail on the head right there.
yes, and I just feel like if I can go to the feed store and get bembendazole, put it in little pill caplets, and take it for $1 a day, then why wouldn't I try that? I mean, I did what my oncologist said too. I mean, thankfully, I didn't have to do chemo. My kind of cancer doesn't wouldn't have responded to it, but so I did hormone therapy and I did what she wanted me to do. But I also didn't want to just lean on that. I wanted to try this because it's my life. I mean, I didn't tell people that I was taking dog dewormer
Mhm.
at first because I thought, well, people are going to think I'm
Judge me.
crazy.
Mhm.
And I don't want people to think I'm crazy. And then 4 months later, when I didn't have any cancer in my body, I was like, I'm going to tell
Everybody.
everyone who will listen
Mhm.
because I truly believe that it was part of the grand plan for my healing.
Yes. I think it's fascinating, first of all, to your point, how many different sources brought this information to you. You did, and I want you to talk also about your treatment protocol because it was hormone receptive cancer. So you were on tamoxifen. I
Yes.
know the other drug is called,
It's, well, the Kisqali is the brand name of
okay,
it. And that's the cell cycle inhibitor.
got it,
And that's only for like a 2-year period, and then but tamoxifen is
is a lifelong,
they are saying probably the rest of my life.
right? Because it's to block the estrogen in your
Mhm.
body.
Right.
So it was a combination of those two. Plus, I don't want to negate, you elected to have a mastectomy.
I did.
Okay, so let's talk about that too, because it's, I don't want people to think, oh, well, she's just taking the dog medicine. Right.
Right.
No, there's way more to this picture,
Right.
but I am fascinated by your choice of your accompaniment. So let's talk about the rest of the picture too and what you're going through.
When I first was diagnosed with stage 4, they gave me 30% chance to live 5 years.
Mhm.
After 2 months of those 3 drugs, everything had shrunk in half, and my doctor said, "You're responding to this better than I normally see."
Mhm.
And that's a lot of reduction in a short period of time. So we decided, let's just keep doing exactly what we're doing 2 more months.
And this was using the fenbendazole
Yes,
in conjunction with the
in
other two.
conjunction.
Okay.
Yes. And I was taking 222 milligrams of fenbendazole daily while I was fighting cancer. And so after 4 months, we did a complete scan and it was gone for my liver and my breast. So at that point, we started back to the discussion about the double mastectomy that we had started earlier before the stage 4 diagnosis. And I wrestled with it because it wasn't in my body anymore. But, I have family history, maternal grandmother, paternal grandmother, my mother, my cousin, me. So while I didn't test positive for the BRCA gene, I mean, clearly there's familial,
Right.
history. So I went ahead and elected for the double mastectomy mainly because it kind of solidified the chance of it. It was like 95% chance I won't get it again if I do this.
Mhm.
And so I wanted to I have at the time, a 13-year-old son.
Right.
And so I was like,
And a
I
single mom, and there's a
single
lot of responsibility there.
yeah.
I get
So
it.
I did it, and, when they reviewed the tissue under the microscope, there was no active cancer microscopically in anything they took out. And we went ahead and did both sides because I had invasive ductal carcinoma, which is the more
Mhm.
common, uh, kind of cancer that's the mass kind on my left side. So you can definitely have different kinds of cancer
Amazing.
in different
Breasts.
breasts.
Yeah.
And I thought, well, if there was suspicious tissue there for that, and I'm like, I don't know, that could turn into something, or
Get it out.
and then I, that that could require chemo to treat, right? And
Right.
so I'm like, let's just take it out
Mhm.
and just minimize the chances of reoccurrence.
Yeah. Which thankfully and they removed, a bunch of lymph nodes from
Yes.
both sides as
Yes.
well. There was something very frustrating that happened during your surgery with insurance that, you elected to have, implants eventually put in, but you have to go through this procedure, it's deflap, right? In order for them to it's they're expanders, right, that they
Right.
put into your tissue. So walk us through that journey. My friend Holly went through that, and it's excruciatingly painful.
Well, I didn't end up doing the D flat because
Yeah.
basically they take all your stomach fat and they use that. And they said it's going to be a much more evasive and longer recovery
Recovery.
time.
Mhm.
And I had already done the double mastectomy, and I was like, oh, I don't think I want something that's going to be painful and take a long time to recover from. So I kind of went the easier route with the implants. And but yes, they did the double mastectomy, and then they just sew you up, with expanders, in there, and then over time, you go in and they fill them up until you get to the point where, "Okay, this is the size I wanna be," and then they go in and they take the expanders out and they put the implants in, and the first time, I anticipated having to have drains. I was told I would have drains,
Mhm.
um and so, no one likes drains, but they're there for a reason. And then the second time I went in to kind of fix some stuff, they said, "Oh, no drains will be needed for this surgery." And I thought, "Oh, great, awesome." And then I come out and I have drains,
N
and I'm like,
What happened?
"What is going on?" And she said, "Well, insurance wouldn't cover the materials that I wanted to use because they said it was experimental." And she says, "It's newer and cheaper than the other thing they wanted me to use,
Mm.
and it's not experimental, but they wouldn't cover it." And so if she would have been able to use what she wanted, I wouldn't have had drains. So I thanked my insurance company for another
Yep.
few weeks of drains. But the way I look at it is, for whatever reason, I needed drains for that second time. And I just think that that kept me from probably having any kind of infections and things like
Mhm.
that. That's the thing with the drains, is that it's just a safeguard to
Yeah.
keep you from getting infections from the surgery. So
Right.
it all worked out.
All things considered at this point. I mean, stage 4 cancer, you're just happy to be alive.
Yes.
Anything else is consequential. You'll put up with it no
Yes.
matter what. But you're going through this healing journey, and you said that the mastectomy part was hard for you, that it was hard letting go of that part of your body. And, on one hand, you were so grateful
Right.
that your treatment experience was so much better than most, right? And
Right.
almost sort of this guilt and remorse. It's like, wow, I was spared
Right.
the hair loss, I was spared the nausea, I was spared all of these things,
Hmm.
but at the same time, I'm making a decision that's for, my best life, for survival. And talk about that. I don't think women talk enough about that choice and the
Yes.
emotional connection to it,
It was
right?
very emotional. I mean, it became more emotional afterwards, even. Like, I mean, it's sort of like part of being a woman, and it's like amputating one of the things that makes you uniquely a woman.
Mhm.
And and then I go through like, well, do you save your nipples? Do you, all these other choices? And I thought, well, if I'm going to do this, I don't want to leave tissue
Yeah.
that could turn into cancer. So it felt like defeating kind of a defeating the purpose if I left that. And then, it just and then just having to like get used to how you look afterwards. And it is difficult. I mean, it's just a part of who you are, and you never think you're not gonna. I mean, you never think you're not gonna have your tatas, right?
Right.
So, um, but I mean, I am very thankful. I mean, I'm thankful that that's an option if people
Mhm.
want to do it, that will help save lives. And I sometimes struggle with, in hindsight, do I still wish I would have done it, or would I rather not have done it? I mean, I think I go back and forth on that even to this day,
Hmm.
just because I kind of feel like I would have been okay. If I would have kept doing my fenbendazole and the other things, um, but it wasn't really worth the risk.
Yeah. Yeah.
So I'm sort of risk averse. I got a little bit better at that through this journey and taking more calculated risk. But when it came down to it, I mean, I think in the end, if it my mom had a single mastectomy and she had stage 0,
Hmm.
and she definitely regrets doing that because it was just.
It was a fear reaction.
Yeah, I think it was, and the doctors make you feel that way too, and
Mhm.
so, having stage 4 and all this other stuff, I even talked to my mom about it sometimes, and she says, "Like, I think you did the right thing." I mean, your situation was completely different than mine,
Yeah.
and so, I mean, I think a lot of people go straight to surgery because that's the thing that's recommended, and the thing I wish I would have done is maybe just wait a little bit
Mm.
because I mean, weeks after being NED, no evidence of disease, I was on an operating table. And it would have been okay to wait 2 or 3 months. I mean, I think if I would have had a little time to think about it some more and not feel like I had to do that, that's probably what I would do. So that's one of the things that I encourage other people is just don't be in a rush to cut yourself.
Mm.
Um, if you don't have to. If you have some time, give yourself some time just to make sure that's what you really wanna do.
Yeah. As I listen to your story, it just makes me think that cancer the journey is as unique as the person is.
Mhm.
And that's what I'm hearing you say is that, yes, fear tends to make us do things quickly, impulsively. We want to extract, eradicate. Of course. I mean, it's our innate desire to want to be well. Um, but what I'm hearing from you is if you can, sit in it, think, don't act out of fear, give it some time. You may have still come to the same conclusion,
Yes.
right? But it is, in fact, your journey. And you ultimately have to make the decision, just like you made the decision to include fenbendazole in your treatment protocol.
Right.
That's your step, that's your journey. One thing you did write about and that I know about only because I've had my eyebrows tattooed, but there has been a lot of progress in like nipple and areola tattooing to help women who've been through what you've been through
Right.
feel whole again and feel complete and feel like they have those parts that they had to cut out. So can you I know it's a very personal question, but
Well, I haven't decided to do it just yet,
yeah.
and that's one of the areas I'm sitting in it
Mhm.
because I'm like, as every day passes and I heal, I get more adjusted to what it's looking like. It's
Sure.
not looking as bad as it was. I gave 'em the loving term of Barbie Franken boobs because that's just what I thought they looked like for the longest time, and they're looking better to me, and
Mhm.
so, the last thing I wanna do is jump into something that's permanent
Mhm.
and then regret that I did that, and there's no rush. I can do this anytime I wanna do this,
Yeah.
and so I'm sitting in this spot a little longer
Mhm.
to see maybe I don't feel like I need it.
Right.
And if I do feel like I need it, then I'll do all the research to find the best thing I can find. But right now I'm just sitting in it and I'm just being grateful that I'm healing well
Mm.
and maybe I'm just getting used to it, but to me it's not as bad
Right.
as it once was. And
Sure.
so it's a process of getting used to your body again.
Mhm. Yeah, and isn't that the moral of the story is that we have choices, but we wanna make sure that we are certain about those choices, and I'm with you, no rush to judgment. Be in the moment, sit in it. It's like your initial response may have been when you first saw them post reconstruction as, "Oh my gosh, what can I do to fix this?"
Right.
But now your eyes are getting used to it, and you're
Yeah.
like, "Well, you know what? Not so bad." And scars fade and things heal and day by day and step by step. I am wholeheartedly convinced, Christina, that your faith is your thread through life. It's your guiding light. It's your force. I cannot let you go from this podcast without doing a deeper dive into that. And I also want to talk about something that really struck me during your treatment, your healing, and all of that is how you chose to live. The things that you did, the celebratory experiences that you had, which I'm so convinced that all of this played such a role in why you're here today, why you've written this book, and why you're able to share this story. So, Kristina Keller is our guest, an amazing woman, breast cancer survivor, stage 4, who decided to manage her breast cancer her way. And we're back right after this. You know, when I stop and think about how much of my day is spent in front of screens, my laptop, my phone, even winding down at night with a little TV, it's honestly most of the day. And avoiding blue light, it's nearly impossible. What I didn't realize for the longest time is that it's not just our eyes paying the price here, our skin feels it too. That blue light exposure can actually speed up skin aging. And that's why I was so intrigued when I discovered Nature's Sunshine Marine Glow. It's the only collagen product clinically proven to defend against blue light while supporting both skin and eye health. And here's what I love. This isn't some crazy complicated 10-step skincare routine. It's just one simple, refreshing tropical flavored drink that fits seamlessly into my day. It's made with responsibly sourced marine collagen, clinically shown to reduce fine lines and improve texture, plus lutein from marigold flowers, which helps shield against the effects of blue light while boosting skin hydration. I've noticed on those long screen time days, my skin does feel more hydrated, less dry, and just overall brighter. And if you've been skeptical about beauty supplements, this one's backed by real clinical proof. It can increase skin hydration by 40%, improve elasticity, even strengthen your skin's natural defense against blue light by 200%. So protect your eyes and skin against harmful blue light effects with Marine Glow. Get 20% off your first order and free shipping by using checkout code FLOURISHING at naturesunshine.com. That's code FLOURISHING at naturesunshine.com. You guys, a good night's sleep is everything to me. And the biggest part of that, aside from a really cool bedroom, is a really cool, great mattress. And we all have different mattress preferences depending on age and stage in life, what we want. Some of us like a little more plush, others a little more firm. Cooling, that's a big deal for me, especially as a woman in midlife. And that's why I love my Lisa mattress. In fact, I've got the hybrid cooling. Surprised? Probably not. The mattresses are beautiful, sustainable, and they are built to last. On top of it, it's not just luxury comfort, but it comes at a reasonable price. That's important to me. Lisa has a lineup of beautifully crafted mattresses tailored to how you sleep. Each mattress designed with specific sleep positions and feel preferences in mind. From night one, I promise you, you're going to feel the difference. Premium materials that deliver serious comfort and full body support no matter how you sleep. I also love the fact that Lisa mattresses are designed and assembled in the good old US of A for exceptional quality. Plus, they back it all up with free shipping, easy returns, and a 100-night sleep trial. Are you in? Go to lisa.com for 25% off. Plus, get an extra $50 off with promo code OVER50, exclusive for my listeners. That's LEESA.com, promo code OVER50 for 25% off, plus an extra $50 off. Be sure to enter our show name after checkout so they know we sent you. Lisa.com, promo code OVER50. You guys know how much I love resale. To buy, to sell, I am all in. And I'm so happy to tell you this podcast is sponsored by The Real Real. Really, the best place to shop and sell authenticated bags, clothing, watches, so much more. I get all of my designer handbags there. I just refuse to pay top designer price, but you want a nice Chanel or a Louis or a YSL. Beautiful pieces, gently loved, as I like to say. Resale is kind of for second chances for all of those things that are just no longer serving you, whether you're letting go of something or you want to buy, like I do. It's fast, it's easy, 40 plus million members ready to shop your belongings. And what's so neat is that they use real time data to determine the highest possible price for every item. They handle all the work for you, from photography to copywriting, shipping, customer service. I mean, why not? The Real Real is the world's largest and most trusted resource for authenticated luxury resale. With thousands of new arrivals daily, nobody does resale like The Real Real. And this month, you can get an extra $100 site credit when you sell for the first time. Go to therealreal.com slash over 50 to get your extra $100. Therealreal.com slash over 50. That's therealreal.com slash over 50. Welcome back to Over 50 and Flourishing. What a heartwarming conversation with Kristina Keller, who's had an amazing journey, truly, in just a year and a half. My goodness, God can write some crazy scripts, can he?
Right.
Who would have ever thought that you'd be here today and would have this story to tell? And yet I'm so grateful you are. I know so many women are receiving this, and you are opening their minds and opening their hearts, for which I am truly grateful. What really touched my heart in reading your book was, as you were going through all of this, you made some conscious decisions to live, right? You're like, I'm not going to sit here in this stew of disease and worry. I'm going to get out there and do stuff. And you did some really neat things with your son. Tell us about that.
Well, I kept him out of school one day and we drove to Waco and we watched the solar eclipse. And I mean, I wouldn't have done that normally. I would have said, "Oh, you need to go to school,"
Mhm.
and that's too far to go, and that's too much trouble for like 2 minutes or 1 minute of something happen. But I just thought this a core memory that we'll remember. He'll remember. And I think, when you find out you have cancer, life just finds a way of stripping down to what's really important. And I thought, look, I don't know if I'm going to be around for certain things. So I want to create memories with my son. And so he had his cotillion ball and we
Mhm.
danced and we went to a dude ranch. And, we still can, even to this day, having no cancer in my body, we're just constantly trying to create memories because, well, now that I know I'm living, I mean, nobody knows
Right.
what tomorrow holds. So I just want to keep living that every single day. Like, I used to focus very much on like ruminating over the past failures or worrying about the future. And I just have never really lived in the present. And this really made me kind of snap out of it. And I wanted to enjoy the now.
Right. And you're doing it. You did it not only with your son, but with your community, your friends, a Facebook group. You held like a service that you described was, part service, part celebration of life, part, if I were attending my funeral, I would hope it would be like this.
Right.
What did you orchestrate, and what did you get out of that?
Well, one of my friends from church, she organized a prayer service at my church, and about 100 people came from all aspects of my life, some I hadn't seen in many, many years. I've never been to anything like it. They prayed over me. We read scripture. I mean, it was like a funeral, a wedding, a reunion. It was kind of like all these things rolled into one. And everyone that I talked to, they all said the same thing. Like, I've never been to anything like that. That was just so amazing. And you know, I the message that I gave them at the very end of that was, don't wait for a diagnosis. Go live your life. And I have friends that came to me after that and said, I listened to what you said that day and I quit my job as a lawyer after 25 years and I'm going to get my teaching certificate because I don't want to spend one more day doing something that I don't love. And I thought, wow, I mean, I wasn't trying to do that, but that's amazing,
Right.
that I'm not going to quit my job but if you felt the Lord leading you to do that, that's awesome. So I feel like it's just really the community came together in prayer. They did meal trains. I mean, I felt love in a different way. I mean, people would call me and tell me what I mean to them, and then if I brought them to Christ, and all the things that you would normally hear someone talk about at a funeral, but you're not there to enjoy that. And I
Yeah.
got to enjoy that in the most, it was like the best possible. I mean, I don't even know if I wouldn't change if I knew I wasn't going to be a survivor and I wasn't going to make it through this. I would still do everything the same way because having that experience and hearing those people and just feeling the love of those people, it was amazing. Everybody, I wish everybody could feel that.
Mm. I can only imagine the power that you felt in that moment and the joy, to your point, of being able to hear these words. Think about how often we gatekeep or hold back words that somebody so desperately needs to hear. It's like, why? Why are we sitting on that?
Right.
Why not express how much somebody means to you or their role or value in your life? It's why wait when there's pain and suffering? Let it out. Love. That's what we're supposed to do. That's what we're called to
Right.
do. There was something really shocking that you wrote about in your book, shocking and yet not shocking, because when you are winning, when you are thriving, when you are victorious, that's generally when the enemy likes to rear his ugly head. And he did so in the form of one of your friends betraying you in kind of a crass and crazy way. Tell everybody what happened.
Well, I mean, honestly, the way I look at it is it was unfortunate. And I feel like it was at the hand of the enemy. I think because I didn't look sick, I didn't feel sick, and I was healed so quickly. Now I can see how it would make people question, if they don't know me, they would say, "Oh, well, did she really have cancer? She didn't really look like she had cancer, and oh, now she's healed all miraculously all of a sudden." So I can see where doubt would come in for maybe people that don't know me, but this was a friend that I known for a decade. I was very close to her, and she was really on board with helping me at the beginning. But it was just like the enemy attacked her and made her question who I was and what I was saying. And it was heartbreaking to me because I care what people think. I'm a people pleaser. I don't want to lose a friend. I was literally trying to convince her, like, I'll show you my medical records,
Wow.
you know, but she didn't want to see the medical records.
Mm,
So I just, I had to grieve that, and then I had to let it go. And I really don't have any ill feelings for her. I feel like the enemy attacked her and the enemy attacks me. And, I prayed that, you know, maybe one day we can reconcile, but
mhm.
um I just think yes, when something unexpected happens and something kind of miraculous happens, people either believe it or they don't. And a lot of people that I told my story, they wanted to know, like, what were you, how did you do this? And I told them I took dog dewormer. Even the people who know me very well, their mouths would drop open
Mhm.
and they would pause for a second and then they would say, "Will you talk to my friend?" So even the ones who knew me super well, it's shocking.
Mhm.
Um, so I understand that, but and it turned out to be lots of people wanted. The the moral of the story is one person didn't believe me, but so many people believed me that I was spending hours and
Mm.
hours on the phone with people I have never met and may never meet, telling them what I did to the point where I had to write it in a blog. I had to like do something different because I couldn't spend that many hours saying the same thing over and over. And I think the last time I looked at the blog that I started October 2nd, 2024, it had uh, almost 9,000 hits.
Mm.
And I thought, well, this is getting around. People are wanting this information and people are sharing it. So I'll take the one person who doesn't believe me as long as I can help
Mhm.
one other person,
Mhm.
you know?
I understand that sentiment well. The young man whose story, was shared with you by 3 other people, what's his story?
He's an older gentleman, but
Yeah.
he's, I think, been, cancer free for more than 15 years now, I think. And,
Wow.
I reached out to him and asked him to read my book and, to see if he would do, like, a little intro
Mhm.
into like, a little testimony and at the beginning, and he did. I got it to him, and within one day, he read it and wrote it back, and so
Wow.
it's just amazing to me. He has been telling his story for so many years, and he's got a blog full of people. I mean, I think there's like 65,000 people on this private um, Facebook group that I was on that people shared their stories and what they were doing. And that was a big part of my 4 months doing this fighting cancer because I was just reading every day success stories. And so there's a whole group of people out there, cheering for one another and trying to support one another. And that's a big reason I wrote the book because I just want people to know that there are other things out there.
Mhm.
And I'm not a doctor. I don't claim to be one. I'm not telling anybody to do
Mhm.
anything,
They have to do their own research.
but there's a lot out there.
Mhm.
And you have to feel comfortable with what you're doing for your own body, for your own circumstance. And I just want people to feel comfortable to be able to do that and not feel like they have to do. I hear so many times, I'm just going to do what they say. I'm just like, I know, I just going to do what they say,
Yeah.
and I just want people to feel like, listen to your doctors, but ask questions and make some decisions for yourself as well.
Yeah. I think the minute you become an unconventional thinker and get outside the box, you will face the wrath,
Yeah.
because again, it's all rooted in fear.
Right.
It's all rooted in fear. And it again goes back to individuality and what am I going to do for my body? And you made a choice and you're not telling anybody what to do here. And I've heard stories like yours. I've heard stories where people have done what you've done. They've also incorporated a complete anti inflammatory, produce type only diet. People who've done a myriad of things and accompaniments to their treatment, traditional treatment, or not any traditional treatment. I just think that this journey is as unique as your thumbprint. And the only way to make the best decision for you is that it A has to be your decision and it has to be an informed decision. And that comes from talking to doctors, multiple doctors, doing what you did, reading online, and then formulating your own opinion. And oh, by the way, listening to God
Right.
because he speaks the loudest. And I want to button it up with his voice in your life. It's loud and it's strong. You have quoted scripture throughout this book. Beautiful a lot from Romans, of course. Is there a particular scripture verse that was kind of a guiding light for you throughout your journey?
I mean, it changed throughout the journey. I
Sure.
mean, I feel like I ebbed and flowed in how I was feeling and what the Lord was doing in my life. I mean, I feel like, um, I feel like He has a purpose for my life. I feel like after healing me from this, it's very clear that I have a calling from Him. That I mean, I've always shared my testimony with people through my 35 years of being a solid Christian, but it's like a whole new, purpose in my life to share my story and let God do what he will with it.
Mhm.
Um, I made this book, I put it out there. I didn't know if anyone was gonna buy it. I didn't know I was gonna have this conversation with you. The Lord is doing things that I couldn't do.
Mhm.
This is this is not of my doing to be sitting with you here with you today. So I just feel like the Lord has called me to share my story and to give people hope. And I think the power of prayer is so important. I mean, I think I prayed I thought big prayers at the beginning, and then I decided I'm not gonna no, that's not big enough, and
Mm,
it made my prayer life kind of go to a whole new level because I was just praying for what I could understand in my mind. But the God of the universe can do abundantly
anything.
more than
Yep.
what we can imagine. So let's pray like that and be expectant of it. And I think having hope and of being healed is so important to actually being healed.
Yes, it is. The belief that you are.
The belief that you can be, yeah,
Mhm.
and to pray for it and believe that the Lord can do it. I mean, yes, I guess, there are prayers that go unanswered and we never understand why.
Sure.
But it doesn't mean don't pray them. You
That's
know,
right.
pray big. And I know that he will use, everyone, no matter what kind of the outcome, that sometimes horrible things happen. And,
Mhm.
you know, recently we had bad floods in Texas and a lot of people perished, and it was so disheartening, and people were like, why would God allow this to happen? We do not know why things have to happen to us, but we just have to trust that God has a plan, and if we're willing, He can turn anything into good and glorify Him in the process.
That's right.
That's really what we're called to do.
Amen to that. Amen. I have a wonderful little segment on the podcast. People will write in and write personal notes to me, and they're all cancer related, breast cancer related. So I want to keep you here
Okay.
because I have a feeling you're going to be way better equipped to answer a lot of these questions than I can. I think there's one that I can maybe help with, but the rest I'm like, Christina's got this. And before we launch into these questions, real quick, I just want everybody to know you're still taking that because I know this is going to be the next question. Well, wait, what is she still doing? This protocol? You're still on the tamoxifen, fenbendazole.
And Kisquali, yes.
Yes.
But I reduced the fenbendazole to 3 times a week instead of every day,
Okay.
just for a maintenance dose.
Hmm.
And then I think probably in another year, I'll get to stop Kisquali, and then, you know, who knows what I'll choose to do. I mean, I
Right.
don't know if I'll do tamoxifen my whole life like they're saying, but maybe after 5 years, I'll revisit that.
Sure.
But I'm gonna take fenbendazole 3 days a week for the rest of my life.
Okay, so are you ready for some Dear Dominique questions that really should say Dear Christina? Okay. This one says, would you be so kind and do an episode on how hard it is for a woman to recover after breast cancer? It could be an episode in which it could be in Zoom with women who've gone through this. I myself sometimes feel so sad and lost because after breast cancer stage 4 changed my life completely. Going through mastectomy and then hysterectomy was devastating. Thank you for listening, Erica Sellis. What would you say to Erica?
Well, maybe she should read Touch Your Tatas. I don't know. I
Hmm.
mean, I think, honestly, like, everybody's story is so different,
Right.
and, it's just I think she can help other people
Mm.
because she went through it herself. She's in the best position because she's walked the walk,
Right.
and if she were to be willing to help other people go through it, I think she would find a new sense of joy in her own life. I feel like when we give back, it sometimes takes the focus off of what we are suffering with, and I don't know, I just think there's some healing that can come from that, and there's so many people out there that wanna talk to people that have been through it, and, so, possibly she could create her own little network of people to, have a group that meets together
Hmm.
and just talk through it. Sometimes just talking about it
Hmm.
makes you feel better. And so she could just get a group together and say, if you've been through this, let's get together once a month and meet and share.
I love that idea. And when you said that, the first thing that popped into my mind is Can Care, an
Yes.
organization you know about. I used to MC their luncheons many, many years when I was in Houston. And what I love about Can Care is that they pair a cancer survivor with somebody who's going through that specific type of cancer
Right.
for the reason you just touched upon. Like meets like. You need to have that relationship and sense of connection with somebody who knows exactly what you're going through. And there's such power in healing in that, not just for the person who is receiving treatment, but also for the person who's been through the journey.
Yes.
The point that you made of giving back. And also I would say, now's the time to really dial in faith. If it hasn't been loud and hasn't been a big bold part of your life, that I think you would testify as well, is
Yeah,
such a huge part of that healing
it is.
when you feel like you have lost so much about yourself,
Mhm.
right? We still have to remember whose we are and that we are still gifted with this incredible life. And there is so much to be blessed about and so much to still offer,
Very true.
right? Okay, let's go on to our next question. Dear Dominique, I'm a breast cancer survivor and have changed everything in my life to be as clean as possible. I was wondering if you could do a beauty segment highlighting clean skincare and makeup. It's not easy to find products that are clean, free of toxins, and actually work. Thank you for your time, honesty, and courage in sharing yourself with us, Christy. Um, I will say this, and I'm curious to ask you this as well, if you've done some research and have incorporated some of that in your life. But the beauty industry has changed dramatically. There are many, many lines that are available now that are pure clean beauty lines. And there are apps that you can find that can help you,
Mhm.
right, determine as clean as possible, right?
Right.
It's hard to remove everything, but from home cleaning products to face cleaning, skincare, makeup, there is a lot out there,
Mhm.
and you can minimize your exposure to toxins. You have to dig a little bit and do that search. But I'm so glad to say that these products are way more readily available because there is a consuming market that so desperately wants to remove
Mhm.
impurities and toxins from their bodies, for the reverse effect that many people think that a lot of these do contribute to cancer.
Yes.
So they're trying to eliminate on that end. Have you incorporated any of that?
I have a little, but not like you would probably think I would.
Mhm.
But again, it's because it's like overload of information. But I do have
Yeah.
the Yucca app
Yes.
and I scan things. And
Mhm.
if it's in there and it says it's bad, then I don't buy it.
Right.
But yeah, it is difficult because, you know, I think you give up maybe some of the things you like about your makeup or whatever.
Mhm.
You feel like you're like, having to give up something to get the clean maybe, and so just finding the right products where you feel like, "Okay, I'm getting what I want from the product, but it's also clean." I
Yeah.
think that the Yucca app helps so that you're not overloaded and you're not researching all the time. You can just take it and go into the store and, scan
Mhm.
it, and you can make a decision right then and there whether it's something you want to buy, and that's a good place to start, even if you're not like, "Oh, I'm gonna wipe out my makeup and I'm gonna wipe out my cleaning products," just starting real simple like that as you
Mhm.
start to purchase things.
Yeah, I think those apps are great. There are several others, and you can go through a store, you can scan a barcode,
Yeah,
and then it will pull up a rating. It'll give it like a check or an X.
right.
So basically, just search, apps for clean skincare, clean food. You can do it in the grocery store as well, and do your best. I mean,
Yeah,
let's face it, our bodies are bombarded
right.
with toxins, environmental toxins, household toxins, this junk in the food. That's a whole podcast in and of itself. But I admire her desire to do that. But to
Yes.
your point, I mean, you can also get kind of crazy and lost in the weeds as well. So somewhere there's that balance, right? The last one is, Dear Dominique, I followed you along and people you've interviewed about HRT, always thought that would be available as an option. After a recent cancer diagnosis, I realize it won't be an option, but there doesn't seem to be a lot of advice for women who can't take HRT to help go through menopause. Nanette, you're in that boat,
Yes.
aren't you?
Yes. So I was already going through menopause before this
Yeah.
happened. So, basically, my hormone blockers are going to keep me in menopause for the rest of my life. And the way I just look at that is I'm alive, but I'm going to be in menopause.
Hmm.
So, yeah. But I'm sure there are many things that I can do
Hmm.
to help with the hot flashes. Right now, I'm just turning my AC to like
65.
65.
Yep.
But, that's kind of my next thing to worry about. Like,
Mhm.
I feel like I've been very focused on getting through this, and now that I'm on the other side of it, um, trying to find ways to minimize some of those side effects of the medications is kind of my next area to
Mhm.
research because, I mean, mostly it's the hot flashes and the night sweats and, lack of sleep,
Yeah.
sleep.
Yeah.
Those are
All the
the
feels.
those are the 3 big ones that I'm
Mhm.
experiencing, and if you go to most doctors, they'll say, "Oh, well, you need sleeping medication," or, just to put a
Mhm.
Band-Aid on it, but I know there's a lot of natural remedies, I just need to do my research on that and just start trying some stuff and see what might
Yeah.
help.
And I will point Nanette and you to a dear friend of mine, Menopause Taylor. She, my gosh, she's had a platform online. She consults and she has a wealth of information. Retired OB-GYN in the industry forever, was one of the first to cross over into the menopause space and really help women there. And we've done, in fact, in our most recent podcast, that was one of the questions that came in because she took questions from viewers. And there are things that you can do. There are things, Nanette, that you can do. And anybody who's a cancer survivor, many of whom are even taking vaginal estrogen because it doesn't cross into the blood barrier wall, but yet it can help with vaginal issues, vaginal dryness, preventing UTIs, all the things that we lose um, down there. So, among other supplements and things like that. So yes, I mean, there's hope and there are answers, but dealing with somebody who's specifically and what I love about her is that she spent many years in the OB-GYN space, kind of knew the void that was there and then crossed over, and, it just has helped so many women in managing, as she says, managing menopause their way, which
Right.
is what I love about it, is that it's not a one size fits all. It's my way isn't your way, isn't her way, isn't her way. It's what's gonna be your way with your specific symptoms, issues, history and all of that. So I'm happy to say there's hope and there are options out there for you and for anybody else, who's watching or listening. But great questions today, right?
Yes.
Thank you for helping me with those
Of
answers.
course.
Yeah, I appreciate that. And I'm so grateful for you. I'm so grateful that you took the time to come up to share your journey. I know it's been kind of a wild year and a half. Parting thoughts for anybody?
I'm just thankful that you had me here, and, I just I just feel like the Lord has brought me to you, and I don't even know why, but I am just grateful, and I hope that someone watching heard something that resonated with them and helped them, even if it's just one person.
And that
I'm
one
gonna cry now. I told you you were gonna make me cry.
we had our Barbara Walters moment. No, it's you know what? I'm with you. It is. It's about having an impact, and if it is just one woman, then we've done exactly what it is we're called to do.
Right.
It's enough, and anything more than that's a bonus, but I have
Right.
a feeling that you have impacted way more than just one lady out there who needed to hear this message and just feel your presence and your kindness, so thank you. Thank you for coming up. Um, if you have watched us and been watching us on YouTube, I encourage you to subscribe so that you can continue to get content like this and leave Christine a comment. If you have something that you would like to say, I'll make sure I'll bug her and say, hey, go check out the comments. They're reaching out to you and maybe they just have words of encouragement for you or questions for you as well. And for those of you who are listening to this podcast on Apple, Spotify, wherever you listen to your podcast, thank you, thank you, thank you for being with me. I appreciate you being on this journey so very much. And just ask if you could take the time to rate, review, subscribe, and share over 50 and flourishing to those you know and love. Maybe somebody you know needs to hear Christine's message. Maybe what she said today, you're thinking, oh my gosh, my aunt, my sister, my best friend, she needs to hear this. Please, please, please share this information. Look, that's how 3 people reached out to her and they shared, and it led to her treatment protocol and her incredible success story. So, the power of sharing. There it is. Be bold, be blessed, and I will see you next week.